哇，他爬上去哎！这年头洗车真辛苦。妈，你的记忆体又被吓到了。Before heading off, my mom's pre-road trip ritual is to get the car washed. And also, when I was little, I really love these car wash machines. I've always wanted to test, just like roll down the window and see what would happen, but I never did that. Right before we started our trip, we went off to get breakfast really quickly. And I'm getting some soy milk and an egg omelet pancake. 蛋饼. You'll see it again. Heading off, our first stop today is Taichung. If you notice, a lot of the cities in Taiwan are Tai something. It just literally means Tai in a direction. So Taipei is north of Taiwan, Taichung is middle of Taiwan, and Tainan is south of Taiwan. So just before we hit Taichung, we stopped at Qingshui. Wow, it's one of my mom's favorite rest stops because it has a wide variety of offerings. As you can see, we're getting some croissants. This that you see right here is like it's freshly made. It's kind of like a cake, but the inside has like a custard filling. If you put it in the freezer overnight, it'll taste really good the next day too. It's just kind of like a little ice cream on the inside with this cake outer shell. So around the afternoon, we're heading into Taichung, and our first stop is the 6th Market. Heading into the doors, we were actually walking into a department store. I was really confused because this wasn't what I had expected looking up the traditional market. It wasn't until we finally got to, I think, the 4th floor that we saw what I was expecting. It really did look like a traditional market, but the interior design was much nicer and more modern. Everyone here, all the vendors are very proud of their products. They'll talk to you about it if you ask any questions. Alongside to the marketplace, you can also go to the food court, and they sell like bentos or little side dishes that you can get. I also got an ArchDaily drink, and the vendor there again was educating me on how to make it. Since I was still full from all the desserts we just had, I opted for some robogao and a wakgui. So wakgui is kind of like a rice pudding cake, and this one's kind of different because it's vegetarian, but usually it would be covered by a meat sauce. Our second stop here was Shenji Village. Used to be a military dorm for different officers and stuff, but once, you know, they all retired, eventually the whole village was kind of vacant. And so people kind of took this over and became a craftsy village. Some people actually have their studios here. They kind of have a pseudo vintage vibe, so you can kind of imagine what it was like being there in the time of like the 50s or the 60s. And I just have a thing for old houses and trying to figure out what was it like for people back then. Driving down to Tainan, we're accompanied by this beautiful sunset that later turns into this red glowing ball. That's the nice thing about driving down to the south. So we got to our hotel. It has this like nice little jazz and library vibe in the lobby. 怎么了？你想说什么？你说。我知道你当初订的是长什么样子。好，那这样就习惯。把最后一样东西要收拾干净。对啊，他还给你这本书。不是给我，他要借你这本书。对方要还的。 After my mom and I got settled in our hotel room, we needed to get dinner. And right around the hotel was actually a traditional market. So you can contrast this with the 6th market. Our place for dinner was Du Xiaoyue. It's a restaurant chain that started in Tainan that sells a lot of traditional Taiwanese dishes, small dishes, especially this danami. It originates from Tainan and it's basically bean sprouts, some sort of meat-ish stew with a shrimp on top. After dinner time, we went to do a quick walk around the neighborhood and we came to the Tainan Fine Arts Museum, which had great lighting and was designed by Shigeru Ban. Our second day is the only full day we get in Tainan, so I wanted to make the most of it. The first spot we went to is a nature spot. Taijiang National Park. 来吧，看一下这里是什么？什么都看不到。
你不能全部剥得很干净，这样就没有意思。你要有点点。
哇！哎，你可以看到那边的那个白色的建筑了。
可以。谢。
你就从这边跟着他走，他就会跟你讲是谁。
哇，你看这样看过去多美呀！都是水跟白色的建筑物。哪有？还有一个气球。
哪里？
哦，中间。
我看可不可以录起来。那人呢？
在干，后来出来了。
哦，好可爱哦。Hello. So Taichung National Park really aims to educate people on biodiversity and local ecosystems. Going in, you'll see 2 sides of the path flanked by these walls, and these walls are actually built by oyster shells. So they were really proud about the recycling and like a more environmentally conscious method of building. On the 3rd floor, if you look out, you can see the surrounding fishing farms. I originally found this place because I wanted somewhere to go to check out beautiful architecture. And of course, there were a lot of people here who came for the same reason, mostly just kind of to take pictures. What I really liked about it was the thought that was put into this building and all of the resources that they compiled for everyone to kind of refer to. You can tell that they really care about the environment around here, and they hope that people will come here to learn more about it. Yeah.
这里整个超大的。你看，那叫没有资金。
We grabbed a quick bite at Nanfang and then headed off to the older part of Tainan. What I like about Tainan is that in the city you have a lot of buildings that's been around for a long time that are very well camouflaged into our modern day landscape. Looking closely, you'll find Chuan Mei Theater, which is a spot that I was really excited for because it is the only movie theater in Taiwan to still have hand-painted movie posters. It was one of the oldest theaters in Tainan. In order to compete with everybody else, they became a second-run theater, so for 1 ticket price, you get to see 2 movies. And right across the street is the studio of the artist that does the hand-painted movie posters, so he just casually sits outside and makes his art right across from the theater. And next to this theater, the surrounding areas are a lot of these old traditional shops. And you can see that in Tainan, people really care about kind of cultural arts. So walking into this embroidery shop, there is a full class going on right now, and it was packed. Just by people looking in, but also with actual students. Right around the corner, my mom took me to a really old temple that was built in probably the late 1600s, and it's dedicated to the Chinese sea goddess Mazu. And the reason why she's so important to Taiwan is because we're an island and a lot of our trade and commerce was by boat. Leaving the downtown Old Town area of Tainan, we are heading into the mountains. And I'm really excited about this location because it's a lighting show. And even before actually getting into the park that we're supposed to go to, they've already blocked off cars from coming in. And a really kind neighbor let us park next to her house without any charge. And yeah, once we got off our car, we walked into the park by foot.
妈妈带你去空山记。
我最爱你，我最爱跟你出来玩。
Man, these bathrooms, yeah.
Like every other place, we always need to go use the bathroom first. I wasn't really sure what to expect, but based on the pictures, I knew there were going to be art installations, and it was kind of nice for me to see so many people coming out into the nature. And so the line for this was ridiculously long, which I guess I should have known from how hard it was to find parking. And when we got there, they handed us these little flyers that allows us to collect stamps throughout the entire attraction. My mom was pretty scared because she has a fear of heights and suspended bridges, but because it was nighttime and you had these like lights streaking across the sides, it didn't feel like you were so high up. You also couldn't really see anything around you besides the bridge. Oh, again, this whole entire event is free, which I think they could have benefited if they made some money, but hey, I'm glad it's free. They handed us each these little small lanterns for us to have like a light when we walk through the park. The same lanterns are also hung onto the sides of the railings. And there were some installations that I simply just didn't really understand. But definitely towards the later half, I really came to appreciate how much work and time they put into making this possible. This installation ranged from just like lights flashing to using fluorescent lights to display kind of like these wire sculptures, and also to highlight just kind of our path. It's very lively. I was very surprised by how well planned and well organized all of these art installations were. You can see how far we've come along in the whole entire mountain, and it didn't feel like that because it was a very gradual procession. This last stair that we're walking up to takes us back above to where our original starting point was, so that we didn't have to cross the bridge again. And you had these bamboo where people painted and wrote little messages on, and a lot of them were saying that like thanks so much to the employees around here. Let's go change these for stickers. Look at how nice everything is. Of course, towards the end I had to get my stickers. I was really surprised by how well organized the whole entire program was, not just in terms of safety, in terms of procession, but also like these graphics that they've been on the promotional posters and these stickers that they're handing out, and how well organized the food area is. I was just, I think, very humbled. Of course, we were hungry. We got some food, got some stinky tofu. On our third day in Tainan, I didn't really have many places planned for this day. It's kind of just casually walking through different sites of Tainan and getting breakfast. Again, this is dumping, egg omelet, egg pancake, and it's probably one of my favorite breakfasts. I also got some lobogao, and I wanted to test out which seasoning and sauce was the best. So I tried the ketchup. My mom was looking at me while she was filming. Nearby there was a snail alley. I wasn't really sure what it was, so my mom and I decided just to walk in and check it out. We saw some like historic-ish architecture, but also a lot of these like cute snails that are on people's doorsteps. I still don't know what the snail alley was for, but I got to see this really cute cat.
这只猫完全不怕人呢。
Heading into Zhenfa Chahang. It is the oldest tea shop possibly in Taiwan. They came over during the Qing dynasty, and they have these nickel cans that hold the tea. It doesn't really preserve the tea in any way, but it is what they brought over. And the way like you kind of talk to her about tea, she'll show you something depending on what kind of tones you like, and then she'll introduce it to you. She'll pour some out so that you can smell it. We decided to leave Tainan around the afternoon so that we could get back to Taipei before nighttime. The reason I came here was because I wanted to see the beautiful ocean coast. I got here and I was really confused.
The music here is jamming.
It was like a campground for school retreat programs.
哎，对对对，前面那边直走应该就是到海岸边了。哦，我刚不就跟你讲，他就大家这样睡一个。
啊，怎么睡？自己带上。
Bad boy 呢
Bad boy, bad boy.
We finally found our way to the coast and walking up.
哇！
没了，终于看到人了。
这就是为什么我要来的嘛。
It was really peaceful. All you can hear is kind of like birds chirping and the sound of the waves.
哇，这个云好漂亮啊，好像那个八仙过海，好像那个仙。
And if you look at the ground, you'll see like little crabs going in and out from like the holes that they've made on the floor. Walking back into the campground area, they had this path that goes around the campus.
I'm so scared of my phone falling in.
And you get to walk into kind of like a forest tunnel. So with that, it sums up my trip to Tainan. If you want to see more of what I did while I was in Taiwan, feel free to check out the other 2 parts of my Taiwan series. Bye!